What's up, A to Z Sports Live on this Thursday. Got a lot to talk about. Jack Gentry is in for Zach Bingham over the next couple of days to wrap up this week. And we're going to have, a couple solid topics today on the show on a Titans Thursday. Really, it's been all Titans because that's been the talk of the town, but the Preds are making some news as well. So we'll Titanize this Preds topic because there was a report that came out about the Preds shopping around one of their best players. And so we, Jack, are going to figure out who is the Titans comp to Filip Forsberg. If the Preds are shopping Filip Forsberg, what would that be if the Titans were shopping one of their best players as well? So we're going to do that secondary of the show, but we're going to lead with John Robinson and the Titans' top three free agent priorities. So we're going to rank the three free agent priorities in whatever order you guys think they are, from most important to least important. I got to admit, I'm stealing this topic from the Tighten Up podcast episode from this week with Jack and Austin Huff, who had on Joe Rexrode of The Athletic to talk about this. So I think we're going to have a couple of really solid topics today. There's also a new report out this morning about Aaron Rodgers. So we will touch on that, I'm sure, pretty soon here at the top. But Jack, welcome in. And it's also a Magic Bucket Day. Jack seems to always fill in on Magic Bucket Days. And Zach always seems to avoid Magic Bucket Days, but that's just kind of how it goes, I guess.
What a coincidence that is. Yeah. While you guys are trickling in, hey, big show today. A lot going on at Bridgestone Arena tonight. And, in the front office over there as well, we're going to talk a lot of Titans. Free agency is coming. And John Robinson's got some big moves to make. Hey, sharing is caring, and caring is sharing. You hear Zach Bingham always say that. So while you're filing in, make sure if you're on Twitter, retweet that thing. If you're on Facebook, share the show that way. If you're on YouTube, make sure you click that bell on the top of your screen and make sure you have your notifications turned on so you get an update every time we go live. You don't want to miss a second of this, especially today. I'm very excited to talk about today's show. We're going to get right into it here shortly. Austin, we don't talk Preds a lot.
No.
But I'm excited that we get to today, although some of the news is not exactly what Preds fans probably want to hear. But they're making moves over there, or maybe on the verge of making moves.
Reportedly discussing the potential to make moves,
Yes.
I guess is how you could really put it if you felt like it. So, but we are going to have a good show this morning. Let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Jack Gentry in for Zach Bingham today. Got to make sure we tell you guys where to go, right? We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Also hit us up on Twitter, where we tweet out those links to the YouTube show. Also on Instagram and TikTok. Got to thank our sponsors because they truly do make it happen for us, and they help out you guys. Renters Warehouse Nashville, the professional landlords in the Nashville area. Simply head to renterswarehouse.com. Wilson County Hyundai, check them out for your new car buying process and make them a part of that new car buying process by going to wilsoncountyhyundai.com or see them in Lebanon. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better coverage, better rates, better service. Learn more about a plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. So, Jack, before we dive into ranking the Titans' top three free agent priorities, I do want to read this tweet about 15 minutes ago from ESPN's Diana Rossini. Quote, Aaron Rodgers will be informing the Packers of his decision soon, per league sources. I'm told there are multiple teams with offers on the table, but of course, nothing can happen until the Green Bay Packers allow a trade. So that is from Diana Rossini. So maybe some new Packers drama out there again. Jack, your initial thoughts on that there are multiple offers on the table before the Packers even know what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. How do you feel about this new Packers Aaron Rodgers update?
Well, the way she phrased that kind of insinuates that there may be a trade on the horizon. That Rodgers' request might be to be traded. The Packers, they're doing all they can. They brought in Rodgers, old quarterback coach. But, Nathaniel Hackett, the guy who's been calling plays up there in Green Bay, he moved to Denver where he's now the head coach. So I'm sure they're in on the mix. San Francisco, who's reportedly in on Rodgers last year, they need a quarterback if they're not ready for Trey Lance. Yeah, I'm not surprised that there's multiple offers on the table. Rodgers is a guy, and, NFL GMs look around the league in the last 2 years, 2 quarterbacks who were on their first year with their new team, each won a Super Bowl in Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady. So Aaron Rodgers is obviously attractive for many reasons for NFL teams, especially contenders who feel like they can win a Super Bowl next year. So I don't know. I'm interested to see. I call Rodgers bluff every time on this because he's still been in Green Bay, all this time. It seems like this offseason, you saw with his Instagram post that he's, in a better mental state, it appears. He's at least, on the surface happier or appearing happier than he was last offseason. But, maybe it's just because he wants to, end on a good note in Green Bay. But the way that Diana Rossini phrased that makes me think that a trade is coming.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that teams are looking to go after Aaron Rodgers before Aaron Rodgers even officially becomes available. So, teams are putting their plans together and being proactive on this instead of being reactive. So we'll see what happens. But there's also some drama out there with another quarterback in the NFC West who has changed his social media profile picture away from his NFL team. Kyler Murray did this a couple weeks ago by just wiping every Arizona Cardinals thing off of his social media. Russell Wilson's new profile picture is him playing with like a independent baseball team or something. I don't know. But so Russell Wilson might be trying to force his way out of Seattle after not being able to do that last offseason. And now the Aaron Rodgers thing is definitely interesting. Obviously everybody would love to know who those teams are that have offers on the table for Aaron Rodgers and what those look like. Are we ever going to figure out what those are? Hell no. We're never going to find out who those guys are, who those teams are. Now the Titans, one of them, I highly doubt it, but if the Titans do their homework on it, they absolutely should, because Aaron Rodgers is definitely an upgrade from where they are.
Yeah, as it pertains to Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, and to a lesser degree, we saw A.J. Brown in a batting cage at Hillwood High earlier this offseason. The MLB lockout's not helping them with any leverage because that season, maybe cut short. Looks like it will be cut short. I think this week, at the end of this week, is kind of the last day they have in order to start the season on time. So I'm going to the MLB discussion from Kyler Murray. That leverage is pretty much gone until the league and the Players Association kind of figures it out on the MLB side of things.
Yeah, no, for sure. A to Z Sports here live on this Thursday. Jack Gentry rocking the A to Z hat here on this Titans Thursday.
Talking advertisement for the
look, I've got like 25 A to Z logos behind me. Where we've got the big one on the screen anyway. But you do what you got to do. But all right, so let's get to our initial lead topic today, because I literally lifted this from the Tighten Up podcast from this week, where Austin Huff and Jack Gentry talked with Joe Rexrode, and Huff presented this to Joe Rexrode, and it was ranking the Titans' top 3 priorities in free agency. So the 3 things that you guys talked about were re-signing Harold Landry, re-signing center Ben Jones, and signing a free agent tight end, right? So those are the 3 big priorities for John Robinson in free agency. Re-sign Harold Landry, re-sign Ben Jones, and go get a free agent tight end. I want to ask you guys, how do you rank these 3 from most important to least important? Most important to least important. That is what we're going to do right now. So Jack has posted that question in the chat, and I will answer those, and we'll give our answers and your answers after I tell you about Renters Warehouse and renterswarehouse.com. They're the professional landlords in the Nashville area. Simply head to renterswarehouse.com and find out how much your home can rent for. There's a bunch of different ways you can use Renters Warehouse to your benefit. It creates extra cash flow for you and your family. It also helps you get long-term equity, because when you sell your house, you're also losing the equity that went along with it. And long-term equity helps you get retirement plan ready, and Renters Warehouse does all the work for you. They're the landlords. You're not. They do all the work. You don't. You just get the money. You get the equity to build onto. simply at renterswarehouse.com.
Download the BetMGM app. It's the king of sportsbooks, and the selection on the site is unmatched. Use promo code A to Z Sports, and you'll receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. And if you follow A to Z Sports on social media, like I know you guys do, or at least should, you stay tuned because there will be a best bet coming out that we may be talking about. But you can wager your $1,000 however much you want on this best bet that I'll talk about later. But you have to make sure when you download the BetMGM app, you use that promo code A to Z Sports. Get your free money, guys. They're handing it out to you. They're pretty much telling you to come take their money. So make sure you do that. Promo code A to Z Sports. Get in on the action today.
Yeah, visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification, eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire in 7 days. And for problem gambling support, call Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789. So, Jack, here is I saw Louis' answer to this question that's talking about. I mean, it's just very funny. We're not gonna get into it.
Louis all over the war.
Yeah, all over the war that's happening. As you know, we are sitting here talking about free agent priorities, and things are exploding across oceans. But anyway, Jack, the question is: we're ranking these 3 free agent priorities for the Titans: re-sign Harold Landry, re-sign Ben Jones, or sign a free agent tight end. What are you seeing from the chat when we're ranking these most important to third most important? Because I think all 3 of them are very important. So it's like there's no one that's like not important. It's just which ones are more important than the others.
Yeah, G-Man's chiming in. He says Landry, Jones, then a tight end.
Landry Jones is also a former quarterback. So
yeah,
Landry
Oklahoma.
Jones tight end, Landry Jones QB. I don't know.
MB agrees with him. Justin's going Landry, tight end, then Ben Jones. Here we go. Landry, re-sign Jones, add tight end. So most people have, Landry number 1. Billy says tight end first, then Jones, then Landry. Okay, Billy's trying to save a little money, it looks like. Shane's going tight end, Ben Jones, Harold Landry. Ben, tight end, Harold from Eric. So a lot of different answers from you guys. It's an interesting angle because each of these options kind of presents a different challenge for John Robinson, right? Harold Landry's gonna break the bank. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's gonna break the bank. He's gonna be looking for in between probably where has probably a little less. I don't know that the Titans will be able to afford that, but he's gonna break the bank wherever he goes, especially if he stays. Ben Jones, he's older. He's going to cost much less, but that center position, man, it's so undervalued. He calls the protections at the line. He's very crucial to what the Titans have, and he's been available for the most part of his career with the Titans. 10 years in the league with Ben Jones, so time may be ticking on him. But the tight end position, man, we all thought it would be Ferkser's year this past year. Nope. It didn't turn out that way. Now the Titans were able to find production out of guys like Michael Pruitt, who made big plays for the first 15 or so games of the season when they needed them. Jeff Swaim was a pleasant surprise. He was able to reel in a handful of passes while also contributing as a blocker, which is what the Titans initially signed him for. They didn't anticipate him being relied on in the passing game like he was this year. But all 3 of those guys set to be free agents. So what do? Do you bring one of those guys back? Do you completely scrap it and try and build from outside the building? It's a huge question, and Robinson's got some big decisions to make, and you can address some of these things in the draft. You want to go find a center, the draft will provide. You want to go find a tight end, middle rounds of the draft, that you don't have to reach for one. You can find a guy in there. But Harold Landry, those guys come around, once every so often, and the Titans haven't had a guy like that in quite some time. So to let him walk would be a big decision, and one that would be very scrutinized, especially in Nashville.
Yeah, I did see a comment before I get back to this. Paulie D says on Facebook, what scares me is that the Titans are not known for re-signing players to a second contract. Like, where are you getting that thing from, Paulie D? I think the Titans have made good decisions on re-signing players to second contracts under John Robinson. I mean, one of the first things John Robinson did was extend Jarrell Casey before he even started playing. He signed Taylor Lewan to a big second contract. He signed Kevin Byard to a big second contract. He signed Derrick Henry to a big second contract.
I think
Ryan Tannehill signed him to a contract with the Titans after his was expiring. Like he's gonna sign AJ Brown and Jeffrey Simmons to those contracts. He's made the decisions on who to let walk. Corey Davis, you let walk for that number. Jonnu Smith, you let walk for that number. Who else has been up who has earned it, right? Like that's kind of I think
Adoree Jackson certainly wasn't. Adoree Jackson wasn't a guy like that. And Jack Conklin may be the only argument, but again, his price tag was too expensive.
The Browns gave Jack Conklin over $20 million in the first year of the contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe that's what Paulie D's referring to, but yeah,
name somebody besides Jack Conklin the Titans whiffed on and made a mistake by not bringing back for a second contract.
After this season, you could say Jonnu Smith. I think that's fine. That's fair. And now look,
but even see what Jonnu did in New England for 1 year.
They run two tight ends, had a rookie quarterback. There's a lot of variables up in New England, but it's interesting to me because they let Jonnu walk. But here we are this offseason, and they're willing to. They're now they appear to be willing to spend a little cash at the tight end position in free agency. So, is Robinson acknowledging his mistake, or is he just capitalizing on one of the last years of the Titans Super Bowl window? I don't know which way it is, but that appears to be the position the Titans are headed in. And the Jonnu thing does hurt because of how versatile he was, especially in the Titans offense. But Jonnu Smith worked because Arthur Smith made it work. Jonnu Smith is very talented on his own, but I don't know that Jonnu would have had the same impact in Todd Downing's offense that he did in Arthur Smith. So there's a lot of moving parts when talking about that and the decision to let him go and test free agency and eventually, the Patriots swooping him up. But the Titans are back in the position where they've got to find an answer this offseason at tight end.
All right, so you guys have answered now. Outside of Jack Conklin, who did John Robinson miss on instead of re-signing to second deals? Jacob and DB says Dennis Kelly. Well, they actually signed Dennis Kelly to a second contract after trading for him. So they did that. Then they cut Dennis Kelly. So that's not the same thing that we're talking about. They decided to move on from Dennis Kelly's contract they signed him to. So I still think that was a bad move to move on from Dennis Kelly, but that's apples and oranges. People are bringing up Jonnu Smith. Eric brings up Rashaan Evans and Jayon Brown. Like, if you guys think Rashaan Evans and Jayon Brown, and I'll add Ken to Eric, are worthy of second contract. Well, actually, Jayon Brown did get a second contract. It was just a 1-year deal, and he didn't prove it. Rashaan Evans and Jayon Brown were both healthy scratches the last 2 games the Titans played this season because they have better guys. Like, so you're not going to pay backups a second contract money like Rashaan Evans and Jayon Brown because David Long and Zach Cunningham are better than those 2 guys. So again, you guys are proving the point that John Robinson typically makes the smart decision, football and financials, when it comes to who he extends and gives second contracts to. So I don't think there is zero problems with really what John Robinson has decided.
All right, well, let's get into our rankings, right? These 3 guys, we haven't ranked our guys yet. I think it's time to do that.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'll lead this one off.
Okay.
I think Harold Landry is absolutely priority number 1. Without question, you have to bring him back. I mean, how far removed are we from the Titans not being able to pressure any quarterbacks in a conference in the AFC where the quarterback position, it's littered with talent in the AFC. You got Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson. Now you have Burrow, Herbert. You've got a handful of guys that can really do damage to you. And in order to beat those teams and to kind of slow down those offenses, you need a pass rush. We saw that in 2020. Now they finally have one in 2021, and you let Harold Landry, who you found in the draft, walk? That makes no sense. I think you have to pay the price tag. You got to swallow some money to bring him back because of, he's a guy who doesn't want to come off the field. He's not a situational pass rusher, right? The Titans, I mean, the last 2 off seasons, it was discussed how maybe they weren't getting as much out of Harold Landry as they could have because of how much they played him. I mean, his usage rate is through the roof. He's a versatile guy. He can help out. He's a great pass rusher, as we saw this year with a career high in sacks. So to let a guy walk like that, when you still have kind of a question mark at Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree, yeah, he was coming off an ACL and he had an abdominal injury during the season, but there's still a lot of question marks around him. I don't think
I think Bud Dupree. I think Bud Dupree will be so much better next year than he was this year. And if you go, and I don't have the splits on the top of my head, but you can look at what the Titans defense did as a whole with Bud Dupree, and in the games where they were missing Bud Dupree. It's pretty astronomical in the amount of pressure and sacks they were able to get with Dupree on the field compared to when he was in street clothes, unable to go with whether it was his knee maintenance or the abdominal injury. Bud Dupree was really good this season. It just didn't show up in the sack category, much like I think Harold Landry was a year ago. But Bud Dupree this year allowed Landry to go for 12 sacks, allowed Jeff Simmons and Danico Autry to dominate up the middle. And then Bud Dupree came on pretty strong towards the end once he got healthy. I think year 2 for the Titans for Bud Dupree will be massive. And look, it's February 24th. I'm not for bold predictions, 6 months ahead of time, not 7 months plus ahead of time. I think Bud Dupree's a double-digit sack guy next year. That's how much I believe in his growth and what he can do next season. Yes.
Well, they're paying him to be that, and he wasn't this year. I think he had 3.5 sacks. But dealing with injuries, now you have a full offseason. I get it, but I think Bud Dupree, what helps him is having Harold Landry on the opposite side. You don't have to deal.
They help each other. Yeah, they're both. It goes hand in hand. Absolutely.
So and I saw a comment said bad business. It's bad business to let probably the cornerstone of your defense walk just because over a handful of $1 million.
All right, so Landry's number 1, right? Landry's number 1. Who's number 2 in your priority list?
Figure out the salary cap later. You have your chance to win a Super Bowl now. Number 2 has to be the tight end position. With Julio Jones as the number 2 receiver on this team, really, Nick Westbrook-Akine had more yards than Julio Jones last season. So you got to have another option for Tannehill. You want to get the most out of that guy, give him a tight end, give him a security blanket, give him something over the middle. And we'll talk about who they need to draft, on a different show. But to solve that tight end position is very crucial. Tannehill with Jonnu Smith excelled. I mean, he looked like a top 10 quarterback. Last year, the turnovers were a big problem. He didn't have that safety valve to check down to go to move the sticks when he needed to. And we kind of saw that with, Ferkser and Swaim and Michael Pruitt at times, but there was no consistency at that position. So you look across the AFC. Again, this is another position in the AFC that is stocked with talent. Travis Kelce. You got Mark Andrews, Darren Waller. You've got Dawson Knox now. There's so many elite tight ends in the AFC, and all those teams, by the way, made the playoffs this past season. So there is something there. You have to figure that out, especially without a reliable guy as your number 2 on the outside with Julio Jones. You don't know how many games he's going to play next year. So you got to find a tight end who's going to be reliable, who can do both pass and or receive and block, and just overall be a red zone threat. The Titans have to. What made them great in 2020 was their ability to punch it in the red zone. Todd Downing's offense, it was highly criticized. I mean, high leverage situations with Todd Downing, especially down in the low red zone. Those situations, most of those times, it took a handful of plays. In a bunch of those times, they didn't even get into the end zone. So you need a tight end there to maximize what you can get out of Tannehill.
And third is obviously Ben Jones, right?
Finally, Ben Jones. He's old, or he's not. He's low 30s. That's not old. So for anybody,
but he's
over 30,
for a center, he can play much longer. But he's definitely getting up there in age, and he's battled through a lot of injuries for sure.
That's the thing. And while he hasn't missed a game in quite a while, he's been dealing with nagging injuries, and you can only deal with those things for so long, and especially in football, I get to the offensive line. That's probably the toughest position in sports. Ben Jones, very valuable. He's a 10-year vet with experience, in pass protect, calling pass protections at the line of scrimmage. He does a lot in the run game as well. He's a valuable piece to the offense, but you could afford to move on for a cheaper option if you were able to find a guy like that in the draft. Save yourself $5-6 million and go spend that elsewhere. Maybe that's the money you need to bring Harold Landry back. Or to bring Dane Cruikshank back, who's an honorable mention for this John Robinson offseason shopping list. So yeah, I'm gonna have to put Jones at the bottom of that list, but I understand his value. It's just maybe a situation where you could save yourself some money and also upgrade to a younger guy that you'll be able to rely on for years to come.
All right, so I'm going to get to mine. Also, we've got a commenter who has now gone 0 for 2 in the comments today so far. But I'm going to get to my comments on how I would rank these guys because I definitely disagree with where Jack's rankings are. So I'll do that in a second. But first, let me tell you guys about Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to find a new ride because make them a part of your car buying process. Buying a new car these days, not that easy because there's a lot of chip shortages, which means not a lot of cars out there in the lot. But if you go to someone you can trust, they can help that make that process a lot easier on you. And that is Payne Bone and his team in Lebanon at Wilson County Hyundai and WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Go check them out. Great brand with the Hyundai. The Hyundai Palisade is honestly sweet. It's really cool. The third row SUV that they debuted a couple of years ago. Get all the bells and whistles. Really nice looking ride. Really nice looking ride for sure. The Hyundai Sonata as well as the other sedan and SUV models. WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app. Not now, but after the show. Stick with us. We got half a show to go. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app and use that promo code A to Z Sports that you see on your screen. And when you make your first deposit, you'll receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. 1,000 smackaroonies. That's what you can wager on any game that you would like this weekend. Maybe it's tonight. Maybe it's on the ice with the Pecorine game and the Dallas Stars on the second game of their back-to-back. As they finished one in overtime last night. You could invest there. Hey, maybe you want to get in on college baseball. They've got it all on BetMGM. So download that app, use that promo code A to Z Sports, and take advantage of that risk-free bet up to $1,000 today.
All right, I'm going to disagree with Zach's ranking of the free agent priorities.
Jack is my name.
Jack, I'm sorry. Zach is just conditioned to say Zach. And Jack is pretty close. And I disagree with Zach all the time. So that's pretty natural why I said that. But one of our commenters now 0 for 2 this morning on the show because DB Cooper earlier said that Dennis Kelly did not get a second deal from the Titans when that was a different conversation. DB Cooper on Facebook says Titans need Kevin Byard to take another salary cut. Kevin Byard has never taken a salary cut. Kevin Byard has restructured his contract, which means he gets more money in his pocket now. Restructuring a contract means you turn future salary into signing bonus, where you can spread that out throughout the entirety of the deal. And the signing bonus is paid to the player right now. And so Kevin Byard has never taken a salary cut. In fact, he's taken more bonuses in his ability to restructure. So I'm sorry, DB, to call you out again, but you are 0 for 2 this morning. Okay. So my rankings of this, Jack, is I actually have Harold Landry third.
Really?
Okay. Yes. And I've talked about this a lot over the last couple of weeks. I would rather the Titans pay Ben Jones and solid free agent tight end X rather than pay Harold Landry an average of $17 million a year over the next 4 or 5 years. Just because it's going to get super tight with the cap over the next couple of years. And you've already got big free agent dollars in Bud Dupree. You've already got big free agent, not as big, but bigger free agent dollars in Danico Autry. And my God, Jeffrey Simmons is about to be the highest paid man on this roster in a couple of years because I predict Ryan Tannehill won't be here. But Jeffrey Simmons might be the highest paid guy in the Titans roster 2 years from now when Tannehill's coming off the books. He's going to get paid more than A.J. Brown because it's another year later. And so that's so much money tied up in your front four. And I know your pass rush is incredibly important. I'm not denying that. But you have to be able to supplement and not just put like $150 million into your front four because Bud Dupree is already counting 9% of your cap. Harold Landry have already said that he wants to go more than that via Buck Rising's report at our website. So you're going to say, okay, now Harold Landry is worth another 9% of your cap. Plus that doesn't count what Danico Autry is and what Jeff Simmons will be in the future. Man, unfortunately, you might have to sacrifice Harold Landry for Big Jeff. And that's how you have to view it. And just like you had to sacrifice Jonnu Smith for Derrick Henry, that's how you view that. You gave Derrick Henry Jonnu Smith money and you couldn't afford them both. I don't think you can afford all four of Dupree, Simmons, Autry, and Landry. And Landry's the first guy that has the opportunity to go. So I rank Ben Jones and the tight end ahead of Harold Landry. That's just what you have. It's just how you have to allocate the money.
You can't be hyper focused on the salary cap when you have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl. I mean, if it takes 5 years of poverty after a Super Bowl, that's fine. I think all Titans fans would agree that that's,
Jack,
a sacrifice they'd be willing to make.
But you have to invest in your weaknesses this offseason.
The weakness was the defensive line.
It's not anymore.
It would be again if they got rid of Harold Landry. Who are they going to put up there? Rashad Weaver coming off a season-ending knee injury? I mean,
it was a broken, like Rashad Weaver broke his leg in September.
Same deal.
No, not the same deal. Like Rashad Weaver's already out there posting on Instagram and walking around. Like Rashad Weaver's going to be fine. Like you break your leg and the bone heals. It's not like he had some like crazy
fine enough to start on the edge of a Super Bowl contender.
That's what you drafted Rashad Weaver for.
In the fourth round?
Yes, to be a big Jack,
Austin,
the Titans had to have insurance for Harold Landry because we knew going into this past year there was a high likeliness of Harold Landry either playing so well he outpriced himself or not playing well enough to be able to keep him. And Rashaan Evans didn't play well enough to need to keep him. And I think Harold Landry played so well he priced himself out because of all the other resources the Titans have on the front four. And you cannot continue to stack the front four with all this money. Like you can't afford to do that, especially when if you don't re-sign Ben Jones, who is your third priority in this conversation, man, you might have 3 brand new offensive linemen starting with Ryan Tannehill.
There are ways to there are outs you have in everybody's contract. In everybody's contract, there's an out. You're not committed to Bud Dupree for the long term. You don't have to be, at least. If you want to save some money there, I think that's the guy you get rid of. He's older. He has a history of injuries, and last season the production wasn't there. I get it that he was very disruptive, but the sack numbers weren't there. So I don't know if I'm fully willing to trust Bud Dupree as the number 1 edge rusher. That's TJ Watt was that guy in Pittsburgh. That's why Bud Dupree's production was so big and impactful. But in Tennessee, I just don't know that Bud Dupree's ready for that role. They paid him a lot of money, and he should be for the price that he's getting paid. But to let Harold Landry walk and this defense just take another step back when
they took a massive step forward. They're not. I mean, they will be worse without Harold Landry. I'm not denying that.
The defense in the pass rush is why they were able to step out the shot at the end against the Bengals.
But what happened? They lost. No, they lost because of the quarterback. The quarterback did not have enough resources around him.
And knowing that your quarterback is deficient in areas where other quarterbacks in the AFC are not, you have to have a really top 10 defense if you want to win a Super Bowl. That defense is now the strong suit of the team. Until you figure out the offense and Tannehill and the wide receiver position along with the tight end and what you're going to do on offensive line, that defense is going to carry you right now. We saw that last year in big games. They stepped up, especially the pass rush. 9 sacks against the Bengals. Harold Landry is a big part of that. Jeffrey Simmons is too, as well as Autry and Dupree. But I think Titans fans will realize next year if they start the season without Harold Landry, that pass rush is going to fall back to average, maybe below average.
I don't know if the dude. Jeffrey Simmons, Nico Autry, and Bud Dupree are way better or way too good for it to fall to
the
average.
Idea of Bud Dupree at his best, yes, but
Bud Dupree's just getting better. Like he had an ACL reconstruction in December and he was playing like 9 months. Like that's crazy. Like Bud Dupree will be better this year. And so here's why I love this show.
It's a gamble.
Because I see Scott saying Jack is right. And then Billy 2 comments later saying Jack is wrong. And then you see Troy saying they have 3 guys that can get to the quarterback. Jack, they can afford to let Landry walk. And then Steven says, I agree with Jack. Bud Dupree was good in Pittsburgh because he had TJ Watt. Bud Dupree was good in Nashville. He just did not have the sack numbers to really prove it. Bud Dupree was a difference maker. I'll go to another.
This is the same thing we were saying about Jadeveon Clowney when he was here. And I get it. They're not the same player.
But Bud Dupree is
about Jadeveon Clowney. Oh, he's getting back there. He's causing pressures. At the end of the day, you got to get to the quarterback. You got to sack the quarterback. That's what gets these guys paid in the NFL. That's what's going to get Harold Landry paid this offseason. Pressures are great. Sacks are better.
I mean, yes. And I think Bud Dupree created a lot of sacks for his teammates. And Bud Dupree had more tangible production than Jadeveon Clowney has had over the last couple of years. I do think that's true as well. So anyway, I do think it's interesting. I think if you need to get 2 out of these 3. Right? I think 2 out of these 3 is the minimum. Getting all 3, man, that would be really impressive from salary cap gymnastics if they can pull that off. But if you get 2 out of the 3, I think you can get better out of re-signing Ben Jones and a tight end than having a lot of that money held up with Harold Landry.
They're going to have to figure out how to spread this money. But to let Harold Landry walk is just a decision that they're going to regret. And I know that they're going to regret it. You have a guy you finally have a homegrown guy that you found in the draft that is, one of the best in the NFL at getting to the quarterback. This past season, I mean, he was in the top 10. He was 10th in the NFL with 12 sacks. I saw a commenter say he gets a lot of pressures, but not a lot of sacks. 12 sacks. That's 10th in the league. Those guys do not grow on trees, and they're not easy to find in the draft. The Titans should know this. Jack, you are overvaluing Landry. You pay for production. If they are worth every cent, which Landry would be if you brought him back, then you do it. I get it. It's a lot of money, and it's intimidating, and there's some cap gymnastics that's going to have to be done if you bring Landry back. But by cutting guys in cap casualties like Janoris Jenkins and Rodgers Saffold, they're able to do this. They're able to afford this.
You have to be able to go replace those guys. And here's my point. If you're going to replace Rodgers Saffold, who is that guy? It ain't Aaron Brewer. So before anybody answers Aaron Brewer, he's not a full-time starting guard.
You can find a guy for half of Saffold's cost, whether it's free agency. You can even go, left guard in the draft if you want.
So you're going to rely on a rookie because remember, Ben Jones is 3rd on your list. So you're basically saying Ben Jones maybe, but it's no big deal if he's back, right?
You can find a veteran left guard in free agency that's going to be able to hold up. You have Caleb Farley at the cornerback position, which you are
Jenkins
planning on
is as good as gone. Jenkins has signed his was a 1-year deal right when he signed, basically.
You kick Radens out to right tackle, and I think you've got something. You've got a pretty cheap offensive line, excluding Taylor Lewan. You have enough money to bring back Landry and continue some of what made this defense so great last year. I mean, Shane Bowen, people were calling for his head last offseason because they couldn't get to the quarterback. Third downs.
I just think saying that you only have Lewan and you lose Saffold and Ben Jones is a big roll of the dice for your offensive line. I think you need 2 of those 3 guys back too. And
I'm just saying you can afford to get rid of one of the 2. If it's Saffold or Jones, I think Saffold's the option because of how much that you can save with him. I think it's close to $12 million. So
Lewan would be the bigger save, but he would also be the harder one to replace.
Exactly. And left tackle, I don't know that you can afford to replace both tackles in a year where you're going to be contending for the Super Bowl. It's too difficult. It's too tall of a task, especially for John Robinson, who has really struggled to find a tackle in the draft since Jack Conklin.
Yeah, and G-Man says the Chiefs put together a pretty good first-year line. I mean, they did. They had like a couple rookies. Creed Humphrey start at center. But they got Trey Smith in the 6th round, which is just an anomaly. Like, Trey Smith is a 1st or 2nd round talent. But if he didn't have lung clots in his lungs in college or blood clots in his lungs in college, he would have been, a 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick at the bottom of that if he didn't have the blood clots. But that's an anomaly there because Trey Smith is an absolute freak. Anyway,
that's a fluke situation that the Chiefs were able to rebuild their entire offensive line, and it worked.
And they also traded for Orlando Brown. That was a big deal as well. So, all right, A to Z Sports here live on this show. So this next topic is going to be interesting. The Preds are reportedly shopping one of their best players, Filip Forsberg. Jack and I are going to tell you who the Titans comp would be. So the Preds shopping Filip Forsberg would be comparable to the Titans shopping one of these 2 guys. But first, let me tell you about Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better coverage, better rates, and better service with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Head to the website, fbhp.com/ATOZ. That's fbhp.com/ATOZ FormBureauHealthPlans.com/ATOZ. Zach has talked about it a lot over the last couple of months as he has started officially his new deal, a new life with Farm Bureau Health Plans, because he was just going to the whatever the hell dot, for his coverage that was bad coverage, a high deductible, high rates. Well, he's got a lower deductible with better coverage for a much lower rate. I think Zach's paying like 22% less per month for his health coverage now compared to what he had previously. So Farm Bureau Health Plans, it's really easy. Jack started his process as well.
Finished it.
Finished it.
Mm-hmm. I'm good to go. I turned 26 at the end of the month, so I've got to get this thing going.
Wow, that took like a week and a half.
Yeah, pretty quick, pretty easy.
I love it.
Yeah. All I did, I went down to Franklin. I met with Victoria, and she set it up, and we got it going. I mean, it was pretty quick, pretty easy. A little paperwork involved, but pretty harmless.
Love it. So check it out, FBHP.com/ATOZ.
Download the BetMGM app, use promo code A to Z Sports, and you'll get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. $1,000 to spend however you'd like. And remember, it's free. Your deposit, if you lose this bet, it will not come out of your deposit. You'll have the same amount of money that you put in, even if this bet goes awry. However, if you bet on the Preds tonight, I don't think it will. Pecorine night, Stars coming off a back-to-back, or an overtime win in a back-to-back situation. They don't even get into town, by the way, until 2 p.m. Puck drops at 7:30. That's enough on the Preds. More to BetMGM. Download this app, use promo code A to Z Sports, and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 and spend that however you'd like. They've got all kinds of options on the site, but make sure you use that promo code A to Z Sports when you download.
All right, so the report that came out last night, I'm going to pull up the tweet so I can appropriately source it. This was from, let's see, where'd it go? Andy Strickland, hearing the Preds are actively shopping superstar Filip Forsberg. So my question to you guys is, who is the Filip Forsberg comp for the Tennessee Titans? Because Filip Forsberg, Jack, is about to, the trade deadline's in like March 21st, I want to say, for the NHL. Filip Forsberg's just like a handful of goals away from becoming the Preds' all-time goal scorer in a career. And then he might be traded as he approaches it or right after he passes that record from David Legwand. So who is the Filip Forsberg comp for the Tennessee Titans? I see some chat answers coming in, but Jack, I want to know yours.
Filip Forsberg, this report, while I knew it was coming, he's at the end of his deal. This is his last year left on it. And, if the Preds do believe that he's going to walk, they have the option to trade him and get a pretty big haul. There are a handful of contenders out there who could really use Filip Forsberg, and they'd be willing to, mortgage the future in order to get a guy like Filip Forsberg to kind of transform what they can do on the offensive side. But when you look at the Titans roster and you try to look for a guy who is very similar to Filip Forsberg, they're different in ages, and this guy's still on his first deal, although he's going to get his second in due time. I'm going A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown is the Filip Forsberg for the Tennessee Titans. They're both human highlight reels, whether it's Filip Forsberg in the Michigan goal or it's A.J. Brown making insane runs after the catch or in-zone catches like we saw against Cincinnati. They both pop up. They're SportsCenter top 10 type of players. They're big in the clutch. When you need a goal, who do you go to if you're the Predators? You go to Filip Forsberg. Whether it's a power play situation late in the game or an extra attacker's on, you want Filip Forsberg to be shooting the puck, just like you want the ball to be in A.J. Brown's hands. Get the ball and the puck to your best players and you'll win. Another thing, they're both homegrown, and I know that the Preds didn't draft Forsberg, but he's played every single game of his NHL career in Nashville. So it's a guy that has kind of become the face of the franchise. Pecorine was that guy. He's retired now. Forsberg stepping up into this role. And while A.J. Brown isn't quite there yet, Derrick Henry is still the face of the Titans and will be for, as long as he's here. But like Rene, if Henry either retires or moves on and the Titans decide to cut ties with him once he gets a little older, then A.J. Brown would be that next guy, right? Like Filip Forsberg would. And neither of these guys are captains, by the way, but they are leaders at their positions for their respective teams. Forsberg's 27. A.J. Brown's 24. They're a little different in ages, but their impact is the same. They're both relied upon And really, the Preds go as these guys, as Forsberg goes, along with the Titans go as AJ Brown goes. And last but not least, in an open market, their options would be unlimited. Every team in the NFL could use an AJ Brown, just like every team in the NHL could use a Filip Forsberg. So for me, it's obvious. I think AJ Brown is your Titans comparison with Phil Forsberg.
So I think AJ Brown, is definitely one of these comps, right? And I'm seeing some others, and I'll go through your guys' comments here in a second. But I just don't think it's completely fully baked to be AJ Brown is the Filip Forsberg of the Titans, because the Preds have paid Filip Forsberg the second contract already. It was a 6-year deal for like $36 million, which is crazy because it just cost the Preds $6 million a year for Filip Forsberg throughout his entire 20s almost. I think I'm taking this a step further, Jack. Filip Forsberg is the face of the Preds right now. Filip Forsberg is why you go to a Preds game. Filip Forsberg is your fireworks. Filip Forsberg is Derrick Henry.
Ooh.
Trading away Filip Forsberg would crush the Predators fan base. It would be awful, devastating. And that's the same way Titans fans would feel if the Titans trade away Derrick Henry, because AJ Brown is just not quite there yet. AJ Brown is still too early on. The Titans are going to give him his second contract. And the Preds gave Forsberg that second deal. Derrick Henry's got his second deal. And if they decide to trade away go away from Derrick Henry, they're changing their identity. Filip Forsberg is the Preds' offensive identity. So Filip Forsberg, those two guys are my comp. And the Preds cannot screw this up. They absolutely cannot trade Filip Forsberg. This guy is the identity for the team. They can't do that. I do need to say, Robbie Stanley this morning did tweet this out, and he's been told that Filip Forsberg has not told the Preds that he doesn't want to be here. That doesn't mean that he's going to sign here. Doesn't mean he's going to not be traded. It just means that he has not told the Preds that he wants out for sure. So there is some conflict there a little bit, but Filip Forsberg being traded, I think, would be devastating to the franchise. And they just can't do that. You can't do that. You need Filip Forsberg. He helps you market. He's got a personality. He's great on social media. He brings fans. Derrick Henry does the same thing.
After last season, or really 2 seasons ago, although we'll take it back to last season, you could say the Preds got to move some pieces. They did that. They moved Arvidsson. They moved Ryan Ellis. And they prepared for what was a mini rebuild, I guess you could say. A competitive rebuild is the phrase that a lot of baseball teams like to use. So that hasn't really been the case. The Preds are in playoff position right now. They've moved on from Pekka Rinne to UC Saros, who's now in the Vezina conversation. So the Preds themselves are a playoff contender, but that we were just talking about bad business with Harold Landry and what it might cost. Filip Forsberg is going to cost around $10 million, AAV. So it's a steep price to pay, but you got to
do it though.
You do it if you're a contender.
Filip Forsberg's more important to the Preds than Harold Landry is to the Titans.
You do it if you're a contender, and what Preds fans have to be crossing their fingers. And another factor, Forsberg's fiance or wife, whatever it is, she's a country music star as well. So Nashville's probably where she wants to stay.
Is she?
Yeah. Well, she's a country music singer. I don't know if "star" is the right word. But
don't just toss around country music star
so that may play into it. Who knows? Preds fans have to be hoping for a win streak before this trade deadline comes. The Preds have to put themselves in a position where David Poile and that front office says, I don't think we can part ways with Forsberg this season, even though he's a free agent at the end of the year. We'll roll the dice, hope he comes back, although he will, have other suitors in free agency. But they need him this year to get to the playoffs and maybe make a run. They've got Duchesne's finally playing well. Saros is playing well. Some of these young guys are stepping up and playing well. I love Yakov Trinan. There's a lot of things to like. Phil Tomasino, he's going to be a star in a handful of years. So the pieces are there if you bring back Forsberg, but you can definitely get a haul if you move him. If the Preds are to go are to trend downward towards this trade deadline, I think that I would be more open to moving him, although I just can't imagine Phil Forsberg in anything other than gold.
And I will say, Alex Doherty, our Preds writer with A to Z Sports, will have actually, I think he does have a piece up on A to Z Sports.com right now. So you can check that out. I think that's going to go out on social media within the next hour or so. So Alex Doherty will have that about his thoughts on Filip Forsberg here coming up soon.
Man, I hope it doesn't happen. I'm going to be in the house tonight. It's going to be a lot of it. There's going to be a lot of energy. Pekarine's numbers getting retired. Phil Forsberg, I mean, it may be one of his last games as a Predator. You hope not. I hope not. But I mean, that's the reality of the situation. There is a report out there with at least ability that they are shopping him. But this is another situation where David Poile, hockey players, GMs in hockey shop more guys than the NFL shops their guys, right?
Sure, yeah.
So there's a lot more movement. The trade deadline's a lot bigger in the NHL and the MLB. You could compare Phil Forsberg, if you're a Braves fan, to Freddie Freeman, who may be leaving Atlanta.
So Dre says he knows nothing about hockey. So how I learned hockey is because I like basketball. I grew up playing ball basketball, like, diving into X's and O's and strategy of basketball. I viewed learning hockey like basketball. So Dre, quick, tutorial. There's 5 guys on the ice. There's 5 guys on the court. The difference with hockey is there's a goalie in front of the basket to go along with your 5 guys. So but the spacing, the passing, the cutting, the sets, all are very similar. You try to get pressure in the paint and a presence in the paint to get traffic around the net like you do. Try to get to the basket and to get to the rim. So if you look at it like that, you also need some big shots that can fire away from the outside and that you can get offensive rebounds to finish in as well. So that's how I learned hockey. Jack, I don't know how you learned hockey, but that worked for me. And it's a two-way thing, right?
I love it. I'm so stoked that it worked in Nashville because the Preds are neck and neck with the Titans to me. I love going to those games. They're probably more entertaining than Titans games just because of the atmosphere that the Preds provide and that crowd has. But yeah, I mean, it's organized chaos on ice. It's exactly what you'd imagine with a rock and everybody holding their sticks, all skating on ice. It's organized chaos. It's beautiful at the same time when it works and looks good. We've seen that from Preds teams in years past. We've seen that sometimes this year from the Preds team. We will not be seeing it work as beautifully as we have if Filip Forsberg's not on the ice wearing gold.
Kenneth says sounds like soccer, and then MB says Dre,
Better.
it's soccer on ice. I don't know. Like I'm not a soccer person, but spacing is similar, passing is similar. The way you kind of go back and forth, up and down the ice, and the way you retreat some to reset in soccer is, I guess, kind of the same. But I viewed it as when you're playing in the zone, it's a lot of the movement of basketball because of the numbers that you have. And Filip Forsberg is your scorer. He's your main guy that can go get you a bucket when you need it in crunch time. So that's how I kind of view it.
It's more compact. The speed is much, much faster than soccer. And instead of flopping and rolling on the ground, these guys are grabbing each other, punching each other in the noses.
It's a combination of basketball and soccer, but played on ice. Fair?
Fair. I'll allow it. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good to me. All right. A to Z Sports here live on this Thursday. I almost forgot what day it was. That's because we were off on Monday, so that helps. So A to Z Sports live on this Thursday. Time for the magic bucket, but real quick, Jack, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, know who you should go to and also who you should trust. The Bone and Joint Institute, they can help you out, help you get back to health. They've got over a dozen doctors there at their facility that specialize in any type of joint injury that you could possibly have to get you back to feeling the right way. And they've got satellite campuses in Brentwood, in Thompson Station, and also in Nolensville. So check them out, boneandjointtn.org.
Check these guys out. BetMGM, it's the king of sportsbooks. It's the only app you need on your phone if you're a sports gambler. Use that promo code A to Z Sports when signing up. If you don't like your book now, or you want to test your luck somewhere else, maybe get a fresh start, new energy, download the BetMGM app. Use this promo code on the screen, A to Z Sports, and you'll receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Spend that however you'd like. You're not going to lose your initial deposit with this risk-free bet. That's That's why it's called risk-free. If you lose, no big deal. You still have all the money you put in. But it's a chance at bonus money, up to $1,000 of bonus money. It's monopoly money, essentially, until it turns green, which it will as soon as you win that bet. Use that promo code A to Z Sports. Cash in on this $1,000 risk-free bet today.
My bad. I messed all the graphics up. I hit the throw in shade button by accident.
You did that last time I was on.
I know. I did it 2 Thursdays in a row. I keep hitting the throw in shade thing. I don't know why I'm doing that, because the magic bucket button is right below the throw in shade button. They go.
I think it's because we all fear the bucket and what powers it has.
Yeah. They all go in order. The buttons there. So, all right, time for the magic bucket here live on this Thursday. Jack, I will let you pick if you want to go first or second.
Let's rip the Band-Aid off. I'll go first.
All right, Jack's going first. Yeah, throwing buckets here on. Thank you, G-Bag.
I like Dion.
My bad.
Dion's
my bad on that.
Hockey, gangsta figure skating. Fair. I like that, Dion.
All right, Jack, this is appropriate. You have to wear a scarf on tomorrow's show.
Okay.
You own a scarf.
Easy. No, of course not. Well, I actually own a Nashville Soccer Club scarf.
I was gonna say you have a soccer scarf, don't you? I'm like, that was gonna be the next sentence out of my mouth.
Yep, I've got one.
I would
Nashville
prefer
soccer, but I love Nashville SC.
I would prefer you go get one from your girlfriend, but
I know you would prefer that.
That would be better entertainment. It'd be better for the show. But if you want to go ahead and wear a soccer scarf, then you can do that.
All right. Well, good thing it's up to me.
Johnny says Austin still hasn't gotten the eyeshadow out of his eyes. I have. It's off.
That was so fun.
I just have other shadow, like actual like light shadows from where I'm going because it's so dark outside right now.
A to Z, we're expanding, and that expansion includes a makeup artist. So he lives in Austin's house. He's a live-in makeup artist.
No, that's not true. I already did that one. That was the turnaround and act like you're making out with yourself. I did that a couple weeks ago. That was pretty funny.
Oh, man.
Good thing Jack didn't get that one, right?
Oh, God.
All right. I've already done this. It's go get a dog toy and put it in your mouth. I did that before. And for the third day in a row, I have Bella.
There she is.
Bella's been sitting next to me for the last 3 days. She's got a stitch on her foot that she can't lick, so I have to keep her with me at all times. So she's been chilling with me right here. So, all right, here's another one. We need more magic bucket stuff. I've already done this one.
You want more magic bucket?
We need more magic buckets. Submissions.
Okay, ideas. Yeah.
All right, this is an oldie but a goodie. Name blank amount of things as you can in 15 seconds. So Jack, come up with a category of things I have to name.
Okay.
That one's a evergreen, always stays in the bucket.
Okay. Let me think. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. I've got it. I'm going dark though.
All right. So here's how you do it. You say the sentence once, get your clock ready because you have to have the timer for 15 seconds. You say it once and then you repeat it. And after you're done repeating it, you start the clock. And I have 15 seconds to accomplish it.
All right. So
is your clock ready?
Yes, my clock is ready. Let me preface this. I want everyone to know that I'm not some type of sicko. I do like murder mysteries. And that's kind of where I'm going here, if you get my drift.
Oh, God. I'm not going to do well in this category.
Name 5.
No, it's as many as I can.
Name as many serial killers as you can in 15 seconds. Okay. Name as many serial killers as you can in 15 seconds. Very dark.
Ted Bundy. Wow. I don't know.
That's probably good. Let's see. Well, your time is now up. So yeah, I mean, Ted Bundy.
That's freaking hard. I'm not good at that.
Oh yeah. What's that movie? What's that movie about him? Oh man, I can't do this.
Like real serial killers, not like fictional.
Yeah, I know. Fictional, you get half credit for. Michael Myers, The train killer. The train killer. What's the one that was in the NFL? The Packers had a serial killer.
I don't know. I went through it. Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer.
Ryan Tannehill kills Titans fans' dreams. That's not right.
The Zodiac killer. Damn it! Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of good ones that I don't think about those. I did go through a stage like 3 or 4 years ago where I watched a lot of serial killer documentaries.
Yeah, that's kind of where I've been lately on my streaming apps, which is not always a great place to be, but it's interesting.
Here's a funny story. So before COVID, we would go play a big game of like laser tag downtown Nashville for my wife's birthday, which is tomorrow, by the way. But we would go, February, you never know what the weather's going to be. So we would do laser tag downtown with a bunch of friends and then go out drinking afterwards. So on laser tag, you get to come up with your name, right? And you can only use like 8 characters for your name. So, and people were doing like Nighthawk and stupid stuff like that, right? My name, this is right when the documentary came out, but my name was Ted Bundy.
Oh my God.
And so whenever I would shoot somebody in laser tag, you look at the end of your gun and say, you would be shot by the name tag. And so it would be killed by Ted Bundy. And so people in the laser tag game that were like, when I was like, Ted Bundy, who does that? Like, it was people freaking out. It was really funny.
Billy Jones says, my son has a tattoo of Ted Bundy on his forearm. Billy Jones, you need parenting classes, my guy.
Marilyn Manson. I was trying to think of Marilyn Manson or not. Which Manson is the serial killer?
I don't think it's Marilyn Manson.
No, that's just the weirdo.
Yeah, he's
Manson.
a creep. Charles Manson.
Aaron Hernandez.
Aaron Hernandez. Yeah, he could be. Damn it, what is this guy's name? I'm blanking on him, and it's gonna kill me. It's
Charles Manson. Yeah, everybody answered that one. Marilyn. My bad, Marilyn Manson, for making you a serial killer. But anyway, I suck at serial killers, so that's that.
Man, I'm trying to. This is gonna get by me, and I'm gonna think of it as soon as we end.
The Green River Killer. Never heard of them.
The Packers had a guy on their team. I think
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I read about that. I read a long story about that. He was like a wide receiver, and he went down like the coast of like Portland and like Oregon into Northern California. I can't remember his name though.
It was Randall Woodfield.
Randall Woodfield.
They called him. I think it's named after the I-5 Bandit.
The I-5.
The I-5 killer. The I-5.
I-5 killer. Yeah. I read that in like Sports Illustrated like 10 years ago. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, Eric says the Ice Truck Killer. You know where that's from?
No.
Dexter. Good show.
Yeah. Aren't they're bringing it back? Did they already bring it
back? They are. Yes. I don't have Showtime anymore, but might have to figure out how to watch that. Yeah. But, all right, guys. Good Thursday show here today. Jack, you're going to be in the house for Pecorine's retirement. So very impressive for you to get that ticket. Hot ticket for sure. So enjoy the game tonight.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Tomorrow's going to be fun. We'll talk about maybe what happened. Hopefully we're talking about a Preds win and Filip Forsberg not being traded, but
that's right.
Time will tell.
All right. We'll see you guys on Friday. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Appreciate it.